many other white names up as possible because it makes me feel blacker every day. All right, cracker, let's see, parasite, cave person, honky, peckerwood. Is that enough or we got some more? Can you think of some more?
You devil.
Yaku, creepy crawly. Anything else?
He said pale face.
Pale face. Neanderthal?
Homophile.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Homophile. Neanderthal. See, here's my thing. I want black people, we was talking about outside, is to be comfortable with saying white people. Be comfortable going beyond just saying white people. Be comfortable insulting their ass. Be comfortable being around them and saying, I mean, really, I'm not inviting you in my conversation. You just happen to be here. Meaning that if I'm talking about you and you happen to hear it, that's your problem. We got to stop getting to a point where the moment they come around, white people. What you scared for? Just say white people. You can say cracker. You can say parasite. But you just said you're not afraid. But you just manifested fear outside of yourself. See, this is the thing. What we have to do is this. The premise of the lecture is to get to a point where you are familiar with what AFRICOM is. It's not just about the slave trade. It's about having an idea of what created the slave trade, right? So you got a slave trade going on in America as well as in Libya, right? Pre-industrial complex, as if that doesn't exist. Then you turn around and you have a slave trade in Libya. Now everybody wants to be involved because it makes you feel conscious to say and do something about something, whereas if you walking down the street and you see a brother being thrown in a police car, you saying, well, maybe he did do something. That is exactly what we say in our minds. A lot of us say it, and a lot of us that are conscious say it. You follow what I'm saying? Or that consider themselves to be conscious, because I don't consider myself to be conscious. I'm a black man at the end of the day. I don't believe in that hierarchy, classism. I'm conscious, they're not. I'm up here, they're down there, because I happen to read a book they happen to not read. You follow what I'm saying? See, here's the thing. We have a term that the ancestor Steve Coakley termed white knowledge. He knows about this. White knowledge is the point where I can prop up a Negro, regardless of what celebrity it is, and at the end of the day, this is a chess piece. See, Jay-Z is a chess piece, right? Because what has he really done other than make an album to make you think that he's conscious? Whereas at the end of the day, he still works for the Council of Foreign Relations. He still is a piece for the Trilateral Commission, which he may never meet a Rockefeller at all. Probably never meet him because he's a nigga, right? See, we're not gonna get into slides and shit. I'm gonna give you a thesis statement of what my job is. At the end of the day, it's about naming names. See, the answer Steve Coakley said, I could say white person, I could say Jew, I could say Italian, I could say Irish, Polish, whatever it is. But if I'm not being specific of who I'm talking about, it don't mean nothing. That's like me turning around and saying, wow, I'm gonna go, I got to fight with this person. I'm like, who? It's a person. It really pissed me off. What person you talking about? Who? Which person? Stop saying a person or a white person, because if we don't know who we aiming for, which is Park Avenue on 68th Street in New York City, if I don't know where I'm going, how am I going to solve a problem? What's the point of me having weapons to cut these crackers' heads off if I don't know exactly who I'm cutting the heads off of? Like, just think about this. Look at it. This is, you got to realize, before we even go into the presentation, these are parasites who knew that they were ruling the country. They can walk through New York City, wherever it was, and people were like, oh shit, these are dogs. This is in the 1920s. Think about that. That means that right now, just think about this right now, because remember David Rockefeller, that motherfucker had about at least 5 or 6 nigga hearts. And then finally just croaked and died. Ooh, I'm glad his ass is dead. Yeah, I said that shit. Yeah. But anyway, you gotta understand that once David died, the cousins took over. It's just like that. Once he died, they knew his ass was gonna die eventually. They just passed on the power to a group of Rockefellers. See people, you go online, once Rockefeller died, right? He died all of a sudden, well, Rockefeller died, everything must be cool. Because that's one problem, like, no, Negro, no. Do you realize that they play chess while you're sitting around playing Uno? Meaning that if one, like let's say if a Carnegie dies, right? Andrew Carnegie died somewhere within the 50s and 60s, right? Andrew, if you don't know who Andrew Carnegie is, you're gonna find out tonight. You see the Carnegies, okay? Carnegies, other than the Carnegies, Rockefellers, mainly Carnegies, Rockefellers, and Rosenwalds are responsible for black schools, whether they are low-level grammar schools to HBCUs. They didn't put the money in, you wouldn't have it. But anyway, you gotta realize is that when they make steps not just to go from square to square, but to be out and say, once I make this step here, then guess what? At the end of the day, this family here will always have these resources. That's why there's a AFRICOM, because I have to find a way to get the world to see Africa as a necessary place to be controlled. Raise your hand if you know what AFRICOM is. Exactly. Right? Raise your hand if you know who Barack Obama is. Well, y'all ain't raised your hand. Y'all know who Barack Obama is. Stop it. You know you voted for him. You voted for him. That's okay. I did too twice. Yeah, I did too.
I feel bad because I ain't vote the first time, but I voted the second time, and that's when he acted a ass.
My way in that hole. But what was really sad was the second time was when I went to a fiesta, right? And that was the zone I was zoned to, right there on Kirby, Fiesta Kirby. And this old lady, old black woman, I mean, like she had to be at least in her 80s. And this is what was sad. She was like, you know, I just couldn't wait to finally see one of us in the White House. The thing is that we desire to be a part of their society. As much as we say we don't, we do. As much as we say we like, thing is, we like subconsciously when we see individuals like, let's say, and I'm gonna use the term Jay-Z and Beyonce a lot because they're symbols. Jay-Z is a symbol of black male wealth, or excuse me, Negro wealth. Because majority of what he does with his wealth has nothing to do with black people at all. Beyonce is a symbol of black male female wealth or Negro wealth. The reason why I say that between black wealth and Negro wealth is because black wealth is going back in the black community while Negro wealth is going back into white people's hands. If you truly pay attention to what she does, and this is very important because the last religion that has to be broken is the religion of celebrityism. Because if I start talking about specific people, we get upset about it because we invested ourselves into these people emotionally. So when it's time to say, damn, you do realize they're part of that, right? Are you serious? Yeah, they puppets. When you start saying they puppets, you know what we do immediately is that you gotta be a hater. You a hater. So you hating on Jay? You hating on Jay? I thought you liked Jay-Z. You go hard not like, man, what's going on? It's like, he's not the same Jay-Z of like originators or, that's not the same person. You gotta understand, this thesis statement is very important. I need people to understand that when you see Barack Obama, you have to understand that he is an officer of the Council of Foreign Relations. Raise your hand if you know what the Council of Foreign Relations is. How many people? 2 people? Think about it. 2 people know what CFR is. And CFR is in every facet of life. You want to talk about what white supremacy is? That's Council of Foreign Relations. If it wasn't, thing is, I'm going into this, but this is very important. You need to know, you need to remember what CFR is. If y'all have a pen and pad, write down CFR. When you get home, look up Council of Foreign Relations. It becomes a who of whoever it is that's running this world. It's literally just maybe 2,000 of them in existence in terms of membership. Maybe 3,000. Just think about that. No different than, let's say, the Boule that only has 3,000 members. You follow what I'm saying? The thing is that what we have to also understand is that when we understand white supremacy, you have different levels of it. It's like a lot of times when we think white supremacy, we only thinking, you know, swastika, white supremacist, bald head, Remy from higher learning crap. But no, this is levels to this. And so I want you to read this. I want to, each slide I want an individual that's in here to read it. I'm not going to read anything, I want you to read it. I'm going to pick somebody. First, Nico, read the first one.
Oh. Created in 1921, this serves as a think tank for foreign policy and international affairs. The origin funders of this organization were the Rockefellers, Carnegies, and Rothschilds. Founded by Edward Mandell House, this organization holds its meetings on Park Avenue on 68th Street in New York City, a building given to the organization by the Rockefeller family.
Okay. The person on the left is Rockefeller Sr. He had this, but he got cursed with what they call the alopecia, where he grows all the hair on his body. You have to understand that the Rockefellers, the way they made their money was through Standard Oil. Standard Oil became Mobil, Exxon. Their oil came out of colonialism in Africa. That's why they own the world. They basically own the world. First they owned America. Then they went from owning America to basically sharing the world with the Fords, Oppenheimers, Rothschilds, Carnegies, and themselves, Rockefellers. You follow? And you have to understand that most U.S. individuals have no idea what the CFR is. That's why when you bring it up, like, what is that? And you understand, these are the individuals who basically run the country. And the only way that they can truly continue power is to continue to control the resources of Africa. If there is no resources of Africa, there's no need to begin there in the first place. So when we go further and further and you find out about NATO and you find out about AFRICOM, which we should already know about, but we don't because of miseducation, you find out that all these different policies are just cover-ups for forms of power in the world. Next slide. You're gonna see David's face a lot, you know. I hate to see that shit. You know, David's the motherfucker. The thing is that when you read names, because my thing is naming names like the ancestors these folks are talking about. It's about naming names. Certain names are very important as you read here, because especially, not even just Du Bois, but Andrew Young. Everyone knows, right now you know who Andrew Young is. Have you heard of him? He used to hang with Dr. King, Ralph Abernathy, John Lewis. Think about this for a moment. The same individual that used to hang with Dr. King, because we love Dr. King. I can't say nothing bad about Dr. King when I get into an argument, right? Every time I turn around, oh, don't you talk about Dr. King? That's what we do. But yet, if Andrew Young, who used to hang with Dr. King and Ralph Abernathy and John Lewis, was such a good black man, why is he a part of the Council of Foreign Relations? Why they handpick that Negro to be a part of their society that controls the world, that controls Africa? And why is a black man cool with being inside of a society that basically controls his mother country? Why is he okay with it? That's my question. Why? And the next question is, why hasn't, but this is the reality, most of us don't know anything about this. Most of us don't know anything about these specific people that's a part of this. Barack Obama, W.E.B. Du Bois. And when we find out about it, then the first thing we're supposed to do is start cutting off heads of these Negroes. because they're the people who are keeping us contained. Next slide. Council of Foreign Relations. This is the reason why I might end up throwing away my TV again. Because, dang, basically, the question becomes, why don't you know about CFR? Why does the media not even bring up Council of Foreign Relations? Because the Council of Foreign Relations have officers who are in the media. Why would they snitch on themselves? You know, most black people, you know, we try to snitch on each other all the time, right? Do the same exact thing. He did, you know. It was amazing. That's exactly what we do. But you gotta understand is that when you go, that's why the previous slide had people like Tom Brokaw and different people that we know about that's in the media all the time, that we see every time giving us information. They know exactly what to show us to keep us contained. See, if I can keep a Negro contained, then I can keep an eye out on what they do. Specifically, it's not, for example, you can have, because she talked about, the sister guys need to talk about, man, we had 1 million Harriet Tubmans. Man, do that Harriet Tubmans along with 1 million more Micah X. See, that's a fear of white people. That one day we're going to wake up and do exactly what the most common sense thing is to do, is to start cutting off the heads of crackers. But that's not what we want to do, because containment also creates fear. I'm going to keep saying the word containment because it's very important. Containment is based on not killing you, but keeping you in a specific position. Right? That's a prime example of containment is the hood. The hood is a form of containment. I'm not going to kill these Negroes, but I'll slowly kill them. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to make them think that they're going to get somewhere. So what we're going to do is we're going to give them this idea of celebrityism and black politicians. We're going to win in the courts. You know, you driving on 59 and you see this black politician. So that black politician is an ideal. Well, if I vote for him, he gonna get me out of that situation. Because we still waiting on the next Barack Obama. We are. You know, because even if Barack didn't do nothing for you, and even if I bring that up to you, you're gonna give an idea of, well, they was holding his hands. We're gonna make a bunch of Negro excuses for why something didn't happen, right? That's exactly what we do. We are the biggest excuse makers in the world for Negroes. Okay, this is very important before I even move forward. Just again, whenever you watch something on television, remember one of the first things Dr. Wellesley talked about, one of the first ways of combating white supremacy is turn the television off. Why are you still watching it? You know what I'm saying? NBC, CBS, Time, Washington Post, New York Times. And the thing is key about the New York Times, and this is funny, I want you to know this. Back in 1989, prior to 1989, no one had no idea what the Boule was. Had no idea there were a bunch of higher up black elite Negroes that were basically puppets for white supremacy, specifically Rockefellers and Rothschilds and Carnegies. They paid these Negroes to keep us contained. That's why specific Negroes like Bill Cosby, Jay-Z, Barack Obama, Beyonce are within the inner circle of our race. As long as they buck dancing, singing, and rapping, then we're going to think that that's going to be our key to freedom. But the moment someone turns around and says, no, it's time to cut off heads, all of a sudden we do what slaves do on plantation and get scared. Because the Jay-Z factor keeps you in this Pied Piper mindset that all I have to do is just buy his album and I've won. I can just buy 444, I'm good. That's black power right there. 444 is black power. That's how we see it though. We don't want no one to take that shit from us. We don't want no one to take that daydream that at some point, all I need to do is get up and rap about it. That's it. And it's crazy because the rappers that actually talk about real information don't get promoted. And why don't they get promoted? Because they're not puppets for this. This is very important. Again, the Council of Foreign Relations, and I haven't even gotten to the next organization that they actually control. Again, white supremacy is about levels. It's not just one person holding the lever like in The Wizard of Oz. It's not like that. That's BS. We have to understand that it's deeper than what we think it is. Next slide. It's very important to know who created the policy of containment. Containment truly was started after the Roosevelt, I forgot the name of it, but anyway, after Roosevelt, which was Theodore, not the Roosevelt with polio that was in a wheelchair, but Theodore, who was called the bully of other countries. He was creating what we will call later containment. And there's many forms of containment after 1947. Barack Obama ran containment in Africa. That was called NATO. That was also called AFRICOM. He ran containment on Africans in Libya. You will find that out further along. But you need to understand what the origin of specific policies is. Once you find out the specific policies, all you're going to see is white skin all over the place. You follow? So this is very important. You got to understand, when you get a chance, write down the term containment. Because I'm sorry, Barack Obama also ran containment. I can go on and on, but every president. Next level, before you go Council of Foreign Relations, you have to understand, hopefully you read the part about the fact that every politician, every president, every congressman, every senator is an officer of the Council of Foreign Relations. Yes, Barack Obama is as well. Yes, he is, I'm sorry. He was the key Negro that they needed to basically sedate black people even worse, because after Bush, black people were mad. So all of a sudden, how do you keep black people from rebelling and killing white people? Let's put a Negro somewhere where we know that in that position, we're going to look up to that situation. We're going to look up to that Negro. So you can turn around and within the next, 10 years, Jay-Z might run for president. So then that's another Negro that we got to think, oh wow, there's another position in society that we can achieve. So these are illusions of society. Again, and Jay-Z is running containment on us. Because all you got to do, again, make that album, and he's keeping you in a box. So you can't turn around and say, this is a bullshit music, man. What the fuck are you talking about? Nigga, you damn near 50, and now you gonna make this album? That ain't hating, that's real, bro. You damn near 50. But you've been talking about cocaine and all this other stuff for several years. But the moment it's time to do some real stuff, now you want to sit there and just, if you pay attention to the music, you just criticize it. He's not really just saying this is what we need to do. You just basically run the game and you criticize it. So in reality, you bullshit. See, because the thing is, most of us as a people will bullshit. But the moment you say this is a policy that keeps you in the hood, what's the first thing we do as black people is, why are we blaming everything on white people? All of the heinous things that happen in this world started from the white race. Period. And everybody knows that. And every other race outside of black is what they do is they form a conglomerate to continue to suppress black people and African people across the world. That is the point. So when you want to join forces with other non-black people in hopes that they may be able to help you, you just falling right into the trap of the containment policy. See, everybody falls right in when it's time to oppress black people. Every other race does. You can look for another race to help you. What we do is we'll even look for Hispanics to help us when they have their own economic system. So why would they want to help you, nigga? Why? Because what do they have to gain with helping you? What do they have to gain with helping out a black person? Nothing. But yet, whites have a lot to gain with multiplying numbers. As the sister said in the lecture she just did, they are genetically inferior, and their numbers are dwindling and has been dwindling for the last at least 30 or 40 years. They know when their situation is going to be in the negative. It's already in there at this point, but again, to go back to the point, containment was the first policy that started the NATO and started the AFRICOM to keep a group, because the whole point is, if I just come into the situation and wipe them out, then it just kills the point of what the policy stands for, is to show the world that these third world niggas are a group that need us as the white race. Next slide. You understand that before I go into the Trilateral Commission, you have to understand that this is just 1/3. This is China. China is 1/3 of the Trilateral Commission. And China has their stake in Africa to this day. If you don't think that China has a stake in the slave trade going on right now in Libya, you are slow. And I hate to say that because it may sound really bad, but the reality is this. As much as we sitting up here, we go online and we look at what's the East Korean guy with, like, he had like a chili bowl haircut, whatever that is.
Kim Jong-un.
We like seeing that. See, we like thinking that it's, you know how we do as black people. We get what we call nigger trinkets. So we go on television and we see Barack Obama or Michelle Obama, and they might make a remark about Trump, right? So we think these little small Negro victims that we think are really doing something. In reality, you're not doing anything at all. Every country at this point, because the Trilateral Commission will begin to multiply, but it's really based on 3 different groups: United States, China, and Europe. Okay? And that, next slide, because it's going to go further and further. See, I told you I'm going to keep seeing David Rockefeller's face. But the thing is that I want y'all, when y'all get a chance, look up a book called The Grand Chessboard. Grand Chessboard was basically him as the big new Brzezinski down there, that motherfucker. His idea of a manifesto was written in the Grand Chessboard. How we can control the world through our policy of containment. And David Rockefeller read a book of his, even before the Grand Chessboard, and said, I need to get this man with me. And once he hired the big dude Brzezinski, that idea, because they both had the same policy of controlling the world and mainly controlling African resources, is that once we create this policy, we can control African people forever. Because it's specific groups that have the same interests. See, the thing is, in black organizations, we don't come together with the same interests and agenda. We might come together to debate and cipher, but when it's time to actually do something, we shut up. Right? When it's time to have real conversation, we debate. We can't just be quiet and just do work. I noticed that myself. But crackers, that's all they do every day. It's 10 steps ahead every single time. So this slave trade that's going on right now, or the slavery period in Libya, is something they planned for years. You understand? This is very important. I'm gonna say this word a lot. As much class as I do, I'm gonna say the term the Trilateral Commission, because we're used to saying the term Illuminati and blue blood. If you want to say if you ask me, so what is the Illuminati? I'm gonna say Council of Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, and Blue Head. That is Illuminati. And it's very important that we as a people put names to things. Because if you're specific about what it is, then you know who the enemy that you're facing. You know where to throw the bullseye at, as opposed to just talking. Because us as Negroes, we sit up and talk all day about what we need to do to white people. But when it's time, okay, go ahead and kill one. All of a sudden it's an excuse, right? But they can turn around and wipe out a whole population of African people, you'll never know about it. If they don't need you, what's the point of having you around? Next slide. AFRICOM, all right? AFRICOM is very important for you all to know. Because AFRICOM, which was from the infestation, that's an infestation, of George W. Bush, but carried out by Barack Obama. Now, Barack Obama used AFRICOM as a weapon in Africa. Because once they started dropping bombs in the series of NATO, then it was time to come in. Remember, there was a need for AFRICOM when Muammar Gaddafi started creating the United States of Africa. Because his idea was about an African Union to control the resources. Because he realized, hey man, I've been doing some really bad shit to African people, and it's time for me to turn this around. See, everybody was truly under him because he had the idea of controlling the resources. So what did AFRICOM do? AFRICOM came in because AFRICOM was really about America getting tired of ground troops. Because the idea is we got to stop sacrificing our own people, and we need to get these niggas to do it for us. So that if we can already have black people on the ground killing themselves and controlling their own population, how would you think it's me? Because it's themselves doing it. That's why nobody's pointing the finger at AFRICOM when it's the slave trade going on. You automatically you go back to slavery and think, well, black people enslaved themselves. That's why it's so easy for us to not even think about what AFRICOM is. Because immediately we're automatically thinking, well, we did this to ourselves. That's why if I ask the question, what is AFRICOM, we have no idea what that is. When the Jamahiriya under Muammar Gaddafi was really taking place, that frightened white people. That frightened crackers because they were like, damn, like this dude really is serious about this. Because at one point Muammar Gaddafi was playing, he was playing the ball with crackers. He was someone that they put up in there as CIA. Next thing you know, he stopped playing hardball with it. He started playing ball with him, and next thing you know, what he do? He flipped the script and turned around and said, I want an African Union. And what that turned out to happen. All of a sudden, they drop bombs, and next thing you know, his own people take him out, which really wasn't his own people, these were CIA. Anytime you see, whether it be, we can go back to Patrice Lumumba, where Dwight Eisenhower was responsible for his death. But they made sure that under containment, that they had people in the Congo. Because when you go online right now, and you look up the death of Patrice Lumumba, what do you see? You see nothing but people in the Congo. You don't see white people doing that. You don't see white people, because you see at one point someone just turn around and kick him in the back of the head. His own people took him down. He had to have been wrong. This is the problem of the media being controlled by who? The Council of Foreign Relations. Because I can get you to see an African leader any way I want you to see him. Think about that. If I'm the one responsible for your education, I can teach you anything about this individual and you'll believe me, because I'm white anyway, right? We still in our minds respect the opinion of white people no matter how much they whoop our ass every single day on this planet. Because they love whooping our ass.